An affair rarely begins in a hotel room or a hidden apartment. That's the end of the story, not the beginning. The real beginning is far more ordinary, far more invisible. It might start with a casual joke exchanged at work, a harmless coffee after class, or a late-night text that lingers a little too long on the mind. The danger is not in the obvious, it's in the places no one questions. Affairs grow in spaces that look safe on the surface, but quietly erode boundaries underneath. What feels like coincidence or friendship slowly turns into something no one planned, yet no one stopped. And by the time it becomes visible, the betrayal has already rooted itself deep. Before we dive into the hidden places where most affairs actually begin, hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves exploring the darker corners of psychology. Workplace, where professional turns personal, affairs don't usually start with lust. They start with repetition. And the workplace is one of the most underestimated breeding grounds for it. Think about it, you spend more waking hours with your coworkers than with your own partner. You share stress, deadlines, victories, and frustrations. Over time, those daily micro-moments of connection start to feel more intimate than the life you return home to. It begins with something innocent. A sarcastic comment about the boss that only the two of you understand. A coffee run where your conversation feels unusually easy. A text that's strictly about work, but then drifts into late-night banter. At first, it feels harmless. After all, you're not crossing any line. Or so you tell yourself. But psychology says otherwise. Studies show that constant proximity combined with shared stressors accelerates emotional bonding. It's the same reason soldiers form unbreakable connections on the battlefield. Shared struggle creates intimacy. The workplace replicates that, just without the bullets. Every project, every late-night shift, every moment of "we're in this together" is actually lowering the guardrail of professional boundaries. And the danger lies in how invisible it looks. No one suspects anything when coworkers chat during lunch breaks or stay late at the office. In fact, society rewards it. They are such hard workers, people say, completely blind to the slow shift happening beneath the surface. Even the people involved rarely realize how far they've drifted until it's too late. What makes the workplace so fertile for affairs isn't just time spent together, it's the comparison factor. You see a side of your coworker that feels refreshing compared to home. They laugh at your jokes without the weight of shared bills. They admire your skills without the history of old arguments. Slowly, your brain starts creating a dangerous contrast. This person feels lighter, easier, more understanding. And that illusion is intoxicating. But here's the twist, most workplace affairs don't begin because people want to cheat. They begin because people want to escape. Escape the routine, the conflicts, the unspoken resentment at home. The office, with its bright lights and constant motion, becomes an alternate reality where problems don't exist. And in that space, attachment slips in quietly, masked as friendship. Some of the most notorious affair scandals, whether in politics, corporations, or Hollywood, didn't happen in secrecy at first. They happened in plain sight, under the excuse of working late or needing to brainstorm. What starts as shared ambition often mutates into shared vulnerability, and from there, everything spirals. The workplace doesn't just blur professional and personal, it creates a second life. A life where secrets grow, unchallenged, until they finally demand to be lived. Online spaces, the digital affair nobody sees coming. Unlike the workplace, where affairs grow out of physical closeness, online spaces create something far more dangerous, emotional intimacy without consequence. The internet gives people the illusion of freedom to speak without judgment, to share secrets without fear, and to reinvent themselves without history holding them back. And that's exactly why digital affairs can feel more intoxicating than physical ones. It often starts with something laughably small. A reply to a story. A harmless emoji under a photo. A quick "how have you been" to an old classmate. It doesn't look like much, but psychology tells us these tiny interactions act like sparks in dry grass. Once a conversation starts, it rarely stays surface level for long. Online communication makes it easier to skip the small talk and jump straight into emotional confessions. Why? Because screens lower inhibition. You don't have to look into someone's eyes and feel their judgment. You can pause, edit, or delete before hitting send. That control makes people braver and more reckless than they'd ever be face to face. And so, what starts as playful texting turns into late-night heart-to-hearts. The phone glows in the dark, becoming the most dangerous third party in a relationship. But here's the dark truth: the brain can't always tell the difference between digital intimacy and physical intimacy. When someone shares secrets with you, listens to your frustrations, or sends messages that make your heart race, your mind registers it as closeness, whether or not you ever meet them in person. That's why studies show emotional online affairs often feel more painful to partners than purely physical ones. Because it's not just the body, it's the mind and soul being shared. Social media supercharges this danger. Platforms are designed to keep you hooked, but they also create a stage where admiration can happen at scale. Our like isn't just a tap, it's a microdose of validation. A private message feels like a hidden world only the two of you share. Slowly, an entire secret relationship can unfold in an invisible corner of the internet, unnoticed by everyone except those involved. The most disturbing part: online affairs thrive in silence. They don't require sneaking out of the house or covering tracks in the real world. They live in deleted chats, locked photo albums, and apps with disappearing messages. A person can be lying in bed next to their partner, yet emotionally living in a different relationship just inches away on their phone screen. And unlike physical affairs, digital ones don't always feel like cheating to the people in them. They convince themselves it's just texting. It's not real. But the late-night dopamine rush, the anticipation of a reply, the butterflies when a notification pops up, that's as real as it gets. And once emotional dependency sets in, the line between online and offline begins to blur dangerously fast. Online spaces don't just enable secret connections, they create a world where affairs can grow stronger without ever being touched. And that's what makes them one of the most terrifying, underestimated places where betrayal begins. Friend circles. When just friends isn't so innocent, affairs don't always begin with strangers. Sometimes, they grow in the safest looking places, inside friend circles. The people we trust the most, the ones we invite into our homes, the ones our partners laugh with at gatherings, these can be the very people who slip past our defenses. Friendships create an illusion of safety. You share jokes, stories, and moments of vulnerability, and it all feels innocent. But psychology shows us something dangerous here: emotional bonds don't always stay in neat boxes. When you consistently share life updates, personal struggles, and long conversations with someone outside your relationship, the brain starts blurring the line between friendship and emotional partnership. Think about it. A friend already knows your background. They've seen your good days and your disasters. They've heard you complain about your partner, they've witnessed your fights, and they've quietly offered support. Over time, that support starts feeling more intimate than it should. And when comfort mixes with secrecy, like a private chat no one knows about, that's when the emotional current begins to shift. This is why psychologists call friend circle affairs their silent creep. They don't start with passion, they start with convenience. You see each other often. You hang out in groups. You exchange casual texts. Nothing looks suspicious because everyone assumes they are just friends. That invisibility makes this type of affair far harder to detect, and far more painful when it comes to light. There's also another layer here: comparison. When a friend listens patiently while your partner is distracted, when they laugh at your jokes while your partner rolls their eyes, when they notice the details your partner overlooks, the brain starts to compare. And comparison is the silent killer of loyalty. Slowly, attraction builds not through fireworks, but through small, repeated moments of being seen and understood. Case studies in psychology reveal that a significant percentage of affairs begin in social circles. It's not always because of intentional betrayal, but because of gradual emotional drift. What begins as, "we're just close friends," can evolve into sharing secrets, then inside jokes, then late-night conversations that feel safer than talking to your own partner. From there, the leap into physical intimacy can feel like a natural next step rather than a shocking betrayal. The darkest part. Friend circle affairs don't just break relationships, they shatter entire networks. Families lose trust. Friendships collapse. Gatherings turn tense. Because betrayal in this form isn't just between two people, it infects everyone connected to them. What makes it so disturbing is that you rarely suspect it. Your guard is down, your trust is high, and the danger is sitting in plain sight. Affairs that grow in friend circles don't feel like explosions, they feel like slow, silent fires burning underneath the surface until everything is already in ashes. Travel business trips, the perfect storm for secrets, airports, hotel lobbies, dimly lit bars in foreign cities, these are more than just places of travel. For many, they become the perfect stage where secrets are born. Affairs that begin on business trips are some of the most common, and the psychology behind them is disturbingly simple. When someone is away from home, their usual world disappears. There's no partner watching over their shoulder, no daily routines, no reminders of responsibility. That absence creates a psychological bubble, a sense of freedom where actions feel less tied to consequences. In psychology, this is called the out-of-context effect. When people step into a new environment, they often behave in ways they wouldn't at home because it doesn't feel like the same life. Now, mix that with long hours spent with colleagues. Work dinners turn into drinks. Drinks turn into laughter. Laughter, under the dim light of a hotel bar, begins to feel dangerously intimate. Add exhaustion, stress, and the human need for comfort, and suddenly a colleague who understands the same pressures becomes more than just a coworker. Hotels play their own sinister role. Psychologists describe them as liminal spaces, places that exist outside the normal rules of life. A hotel room isn't decorated with family photos. There's no memory of your children's laughter in the walls. It's a blank space, emotionally empty, waiting to be filled with whatever impulse takes control in the moment. That makes it easier for people to cross boundaries they would never dare cross in their own bedroom. There's also the psychological shield of anonymity. In a city where no one knows you, with strangers passing by and co-workers who are often in the same situation, temptation feels less risky. The brain whispers, "no one will ever know." That illusion of secrecy becomes intoxicating. Studies show that people are more likely to engage in risky behavior when they feel unobserved, and travel creates exactly that scenario. Another disturbing truth is that many of these affairs don't start with a plan. They start with small compromises, sitting too close on a flight, sharing a late-night conversation in the lobby, lingering too long at a bar table. The danger builds slowly, step by step, until the leap feels less like a betrayal and more like the natural, next thing, in the moment. What makes travel affairs so destructive is the double life they create. At home, the person plays the role of the responsible partner, while away, they indulge in a version of themselves their family never sees. That split isn't just betrayal, it's psychological dissonance. Living two identities eats away at someone's sense of self, often leaving traces of guilt, irritability, and distance long after they've returned home. In the end, business trips and travel aren't just journeys through geography. They are journeys through temptation, fueled by freedom, secrecy, and the illusion that actions away from home don't follow you back. But they always do. The hotel door closes, the trip ends, and yet the consequences travel home with you, hidden in silence, but heavy enough to fracture everything. Digital spaces, affairs in the age of screens. Once, affairs required stolen moments in hidden places. Today, they can unfold in plain sight, right on a glowing screen. What makes digital spaces so dangerous is not just their convenience, but the illusion of safety they provide. It often begins innocently. A friend request from an old classmate. A simple emoji on a post. A late night, just checking in message. But digital intimacy grows faster than most people realize. The screen acts like a mask, removing awkwardness, making bold words easier, and giving conversations a kind of secret, addictive intimacy. Psychologists call this the disinhibition effect. When people communicate online, they feel less restrained, more willing to reveal desires and secrets they would never dare share in person. A person who hesitates to flirt face-to-face might type those same words in a chat without hesitation. And once the boundary is crossed, the floodgates open. Social media itself is engineered to make this easier. Constant notifications, likes, and private messages create micro-hits of dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical. When someone in a relationship starts receiving those sparks of validation from another person, it can feel intoxicating, even more than the steady comfort of their partner. Slowly, the brain starts to crave those digital touches of attention, mistaking them for intimacy. Dating apps, too, play their role in digital betrayal. Many people use them just to look, convincing themselves they won't act. But research shows even the act of swiping stimulates the reward pathways of the brain. It's like gambling with attention and desire, and sooner or later, the temptation to take it further becomes overwhelming. What makes digital affairs especially dangerous is their invisibility. Unlike lipstick stains or late nights away from home, there are no obvious clues. Messages can be deleted. Apps can be hidden. And unlike a physical affair, an online one can stretch on endlessly, fueled by constant connection at any hour of the day. The partner at home may feel distance and disconnection but may never see the shadow living inside the screen. And here's the darkest part: many people convince themselves that digital affairs don't count. They tell themselves it's harmless, just flirting, just fantasy. But the brain doesn't know the difference. Emotional intimacy, the sharing of secrets, the rush of validation, these build the same psychological bonds as physical contact. For many betrayed partners, digital betrayal cuts even deeper, because it attacks the core of trust and emotional safety. In the end, the digital world hasn't just changed how affairs happen. It has made them more accessible, more secret, and more psychologically addictive than ever before. Behind every glowing screen, there's a door. And for some, that door doesn't lead to entertainment or friendship, it leads straight into a hidden life, one that can unravel everything when it finally comes to light.